Imagine this. You've just won the World Cup, every footballer's childhood dream. The moment you've worked for your entire life, sacrificing blood, sweat, and tears, is finally here. The celebrations should be pure ecstasy, the pinnacle of your career. But instead, it's overshadowed by an incident so shocking that it hijacks the narrative completely. That was the reality for Spain's Jenni Hermoso. As she stood on the podium, gold medal around her neck, FIFA President Gianni Infantino shook her hand, and so did Queen Letizia of Spain. Next in line was Luis Rubiales, the president of the Spanish Football Federation. What should have been a routine congratulatory moment turned into one of the most controversial moments in football history. Rubiales grabbed Hermoso's head with both hands and planted an unsolicited kiss on her lips. In that instant, the joy of winning a World Cup was tainted. Later, Hermoso would testify in court, saying that the kiss had ruined what should have been the best moment of her career. And this wasn't just about a kiss. It was about power, control, and a system that had long disrespected its players. To understand how we got here, we have to go back to summer 2022. For years, Spanish players, particularly those from Barcelona Femení, the backbone of the national team, felt disrespected. At the club level, they were dominant, winning Champions League titles and setting new standards in women's football. But at the national level, their talents were being misused. The culprit, head coach Jorge Vilda. Under Vilda, the Spanish team endured outdated training methods, excessive micromanagement, and an overall lack of respect. In other words, Vilda was not only a dinosaur of a coach, he was also a control freak. Detailing how the players felt under the management of Jorge Vilda, then Manchester United women's forward Lucia Garcia recounted, "The training sessions were always the same, always, every day. I swear to God, I had done the same drills since I was with the under-17. There was strict control every night at bedtime. Also, we almost never had the day to ourselves. If we had free time, it was supervised. It was like they were afraid of what we might do, as if they doubted how professional we really were. I mean, we know what's best for us. We weren't girls on a school trip, but these were not all. Apparently, the Spanish women's players were also not allowed to lock their hotel doors at night, so Vilda could come in and check if they were in their beds after curfew, and check whether their rooms were up to scratch. Only after that he would lock them. These issues, coupled with terrible injury management procedures under Vilda, created a stress and anxiety-laden environment for the players, to the point that for a sport that was meant to be enjoyed, most of them left training practices in tears. By the beginning of 2022, the players had begun to find their voices. After their disappointing quarter-final exit at the Euros in the summer, 15 of them, 6 from Barcelona Femení, including world best player Aitana Bonmati, backed by their captain, Irene Paredes, took a stand. They sent letters to the Spanish Federation detailing the toxic environment under Vilda and demanded immediate change, else they were retiring from the national team indefinitely. But little did they know that the Federation president, Luis Rubiales, was literally in bed with Vilda. In fact, they were allies. The Spanish Football Federation didn't just ignore them, it actively protected Vilda. Instead of addressing the players' concerns, they flipped the script, portrayed it as a power struggle. They used the media to assassinate the players' characters in the open, branding them the infamous Los 15. The Spanish Federation then responded with a strongly worded statement describing this as unprecedented in the history of football, a situation that goes beyond sport to be a question of dignity, and insisted that it would not give in to pressure. The Federation also threatened the 15 players with bans of between 2 and 5 years, then declared that it would just not call up any of the players involved until they admit their error and apologize. But this is where things got out of control. Spanish football politics took over and now twisted the narrative around into some kind of a Barcelona versus Madrid beef. You see, the majority of the lost 15 players were from Barcelona, the powerhouse of Spanish women's football, whereas not even a single player from Real Madrid Femenino was part of the mutiny. So just like the Barcelona faction of the FA pushed for the sacking of Julen Lopetegui as head coach of the Spanish men's senior team for agreeing a pre-contract with Real Madrid ahead of World Cup 2018, the Madrid faction also returned the favor here. They pushed for the federation to call up players from lesser clubs to fill the national team. And as a result, 9 players from Las Blancas joined the team. Now imagine ignoring the Lamine Yamals, Pedris, Gavis, and Dani Olmos of Barcelona from the men's game in favor of players from Alaves, Deportivo La Coruña, and the likes, just because these players asked for better playing conditions. Ridiculous, eh? That's exactly what was happening. In all reality, the 15 senior players were now put in a difficult spot. With the World Cup approaching the next year, the players faced a tough decision. For many, the World Cup is a career-defining tournament. Some of the original 15 who protested reconsidered, fearing they'd miss out on football's biggest stage. Around 8 of them wrote back to the FA, making themselves available for selection again. But even then, the federation wasn't ready to fully forgive. Only 3 of them, in Aitana Bonmati, Mariona Caldenti, and Ona Batle, made the final World Cup squad. Despite everything, Spain had a tournament to play. And against all odds, they went on to win it all. But that historic victory, the first Women's World Cup win in Spain's history, was immediately overshadowed by a brief moment on the podium. In the heat of the medals collection, the Spanish FA president, Rubiales, grabbed Hermoso's head with both hands and planted an unsolicited kiss on her lips. The kiss sparked global outrage. Popular figures from the game condemned it, including Xavi Hernandez, Barcelona men's coach at the time. Players from the Spanish men's senior team also followed suit to condemn the act through their social media pages. Even the Spanish socialist government labeled the kiss as an attack and were intent on sending a message that their values as a nation frowned on it. Hermoso later revealed that she had felt vulnerable and a victim of aggression. The backlash was enormous, and rightly so. There were early calls for Rubiales to step down, but Rubiales refused to step down. Instead, he went on a bizarre, defiant rant, calling his critics idiots and false feminists and repeating, "I will not resign" multiple times in an RFEF meeting. And just when you thought it couldn't get worse, he extended his ally Jorge Vilda's contract and tripled his salary, an open display of defiance. However, it would later be revealed that Vilda was actually receiving a raise for doing Rubiales' bidding. Rubiales tried to get Vilda to leverage his position as head coach to coerce Hermoso into misinforming the public that she had consented to the kiss. But FIFA stepped in. A 90-day suspension was issued, then a 3-year ban from all football-related activities. Pressure mounted. Eventually, Rubiales had no choice but to resign. Vilda was also sacked, removed from his roles as head coach and director of women's football. But that wasn't all. In September that same year, just 3 months after the World Cup win, Hermoso lodged a criminal complaint against Rubiales. Spanish prosecutor Marta Durantes then filed a complaint against Rubiales for sexual assault and coercion. Even though Rubiales denied wrongdoing, the prosecutor requested a restraining order against him so he could not get within 500 meters of Hermoso. Then 6 months later, Durantes charged Rubiales with 1 count of sexual assault and 1 of coercion, offenses carrying jail terms of 1 year and 1.5 years, respectively. Rubiales has been standing trial since May 2024, with prosecutors, Hermoso, and Spain's Players Association demanding a 2.5-year prison sentence for Rubiales and $50,000 in damages. Spain had eventually rid themselves of the Jorge Vilda and Rubiales problem. A win for global women's football, it seemed. But in a shocking turn of events, just as the controversy was at its heights in October 2023, The Moroccan FA appointed Jorge Vilda as new head coach of their women's national team. Unbelievable. I mean, lovers of the women's game had hoped this Rubiales-Vilda case was going to be the turning point for real change in women's football. But this move from the Moroccan FA highly indicates that there definitely still are wider gaps to be bridged.